Hello, my friends. It's Tuesday after Christmas, and I can't think of a more bland sounding day in my entire scope of bland sounding days than the Tuesday after Christmas. Welcome to episode 335 of the Thadcast, and I hope that you had a very Merry Christmas celebrating the birth of Jesus and that you were engaged on that on whatever level that looks like for you and your family this year. We didn't do the typical Christmas Eve service. So what we did was we just watched a Christmas Eve service here from our church, and it was really powerful and it was really good, and I'm so grateful. And it was better than what they did with the last year's Christmas Eve service, which was I was on stage acting like a wild man. They brought me on to get like the crowd fired up and to get everybody excited and go over the top and play this game and have fun with it. And anybody says, hey, we're going to play a game, we're going to have fun with it, we need somebody to be over the top and on stage with like 1,000 people. And let's have Thad do that. And that, unfortunately, for some of the older folks in the church, was probably one of the more ear-splitting adventures on Christmas Eve service. They won't forget it, but I don't know if they'll ever think of it in a positive light after the destruction of volume and ears and all that good stuff. But hey, however we honor Jesus and however we celebrate Jesus is so good. Just celebrate him. Don't make it into something that it's not. Don't make it into ritualistic. Don't make it into something difficult. You know, I like the idea of more of a calm, quiet, reflective Christmas Eve service. I appreciate that in the chaos of the world that we live in today. Something heartfelt, something that means something, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that. And it doesn't mean that it should be that over something else. So just a few random notes to keep in mind. Now we're racing into this year called 2021. And if you are like me, you're like, well, 2020, it's been real and it's been real. And it has been real. It's been like take a baseball bat to your head kind of real, right? But we're moving on. We're moving forward in God's grace and God's goodness. We have a lot to look forward to. And I bet you know what? If you would have journaled 2020, I bet anything it wasn't near as tough as you might have thought it was. I bet it wasn't. I would encourage you today to take a good look at your heart and your life right now in this moment. And here's why I reflectively say that to you. We have a lot going on in our world. But that doesn't mean that we give up on our dreams and we give up on our goals. In fact, if you've been working towards some of your dreams and some of your goals and have not faced adversity, I don't know what to tell you at this point. You are either the luckiest human on the planet or there's adversity all around you and you're just choosing to ignore it. And sometimes that can be the right choice, but most of the time you want to address the challenges that you have in front of you. So for me, what I'm doing is a couple of things. First of all, I'm reading. Reading is always going to get me my head geared the right direction. So I say this and saying I actually didn't read yesterday, but I've been reading every other day for the past 10 days to get my mindset framework right going into the year. And actually a book that I've been reading has been Bob Goff's Dream Big. And I'm still not done with it. So it's taken me like 6 months to get through this stupid book because of, and it's not a stupid book. It's me not taking deliberate action to do what I know is good for my soul. And so now I'm back in the book. I've read a bunch. I'll probably finish it in the next few days, which is exciting because it's a really good book. And it's really pinpointing some of my dreams, my goals, some of the things that I work on. In fact, Bob shares his story. He shares his story. He decided one day he was going to own an airline. And that was what he made a decision. He's like, you know what? I think I want to own an airline. But the problem is he wanted to own one of those small airlines that flies in and out of places in like Alaska and Canada. So he's in a small plane, it can land on water. Because that's what Bob has. He has a plane like that. And so he decided to own it. And so he went out. He's like, well, I can't really afford a plane. So he went out and started buying plane parts. And then he had a friend of his keep building it. And they kept buying more parts. And they kept building it. And finally, they had this plane that was put together from all these parts, and then they painted it. He had a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, and that's how he decided the colors for his plane. He saw the colors on the box of Krispy Kreme, and he goes, yeah, that's great. That's great. And suddenly, Bob Goff has stolen Krispy Kreme's colors. Right? No, it doesn't work like that. And all of a sudden, the color palette that he looked at, he's like, yeah, this is my gig, and he built it. And now, after all the adversity and after all the stuff that he did, he now has like 8 planes, which is really interesting to think about, because this guy's had his hand in so many areas. What are some of the keys of Bob's success? First of all, and I think you have to start with this, an optimistic outlook. If you start something with a negative outlook, you're not going to get anywhere. And everything you read in this book by Bob Goff is optimism, again and again and again. All right. Secondly, you have to expect there's going to be adversity. So what are you going to do? Now, when I started losing weight, when about 11, 12 years ago now, when I went on my weight loss journey and the transformation, lost about 150 pounds, when I went through all of that, I think for me, what helped was a level of tenacity and anticipating what my obstacles would be. And I planned around all my obstacles. Most of it was time. So I would run either really early in the morning or really late at night, so it didn't interfere with my family life or with work. And sometimes I would run in the middle of the day if I had the time that day, if I was off that day. Otherwise, I had it scheduled and I never missed it. I just made sure no matter what, I didn't miss it. That was my mindset. Okay, so optimism, right? And then being tenacious. And then I would say tied into that then is tenacity of schedule, right? Organizing, planning, adversity, all those things. Your scheduling is so important. If you don't have a schedule of what you're trying to accomplish in 2020, take a step back. You need to dissect what that goal is and how you want to get from point A to point B. All right. So for me, I wanted to start losing weight, but one of the things I did not want to do was start getting my weight back and start getting my health back January 1st. So I already started a couple days ago and I've lost over 7 pounds. Why? Because I have a mindset that I'm going to accomplish goals based upon having accomplished goals before, very similar to this. And this time, I think the difference is I am long-term really motivated, but not looking in the long term. Because I know that if you're going to win, you're going to win in the moment. You're going to win in the day. And we talk about this all the time on the Thadcast. One of the things I've learned from Michael Jordan's life this year is that he mastered the moment. He didn't get caught up in his past. And by the way, can we leave the past behind us in 2021? Can we just move forward once and for all? Can we let go of all our bitterness and all the things that hold us back and move forward in God's grace, because you have been forgiven, so you can forgive people and you can go forward with me into 2021, okay? And let's leave all that behind. But Michael Jordan was a guy who nailed the moment in so many ways. In so many ways. So think about that. Think about nailing the moment, being in the moment, not on your phone, not planning everything all the time, not being worried, especially not being worried about what could happen, right? Let's stay focused in the moment, powerfully executing on the things we need to make happen in 2021. I would get a good book. I would start reading. I would work on your personal growth, your personal development. And know, from the story I shared with Bob Goff earlier, know you're going to have to take some risks. Know that you may have to spend a little money that you didn't want to spend because you can't get from point A to point B without doing that. And sometimes there's some risks associated. Don't be a fool, but take your risk, take your shot. You got to take your shot in 2021. You'll never have a better opportunity to improve your existence than right now at this moment in history. Why? Because you are living it right now. Well, I hope your 2021 is fantastic. We're going to blast off into it. It's probably going to be a lot of the theme over the next couple of weeks of the Thadcast. I will share more with you on what I'm learning and what I'm growing even before we get to 2021, because we want to grab this year and you and I want to go. What do you say? Sound good? Sounds good to me. All right, well, thank you for joining me on episode 335 of the Thadcast. As always, if you share this with one friend, that helps me out a ton. That helps me. If you do a rating or review on iTunes, that's always good stuff. And don't forget to join the Thadcast Facebook group, of course. Thank you so much again for joining me. Let's blow this thing out, folks. And I hope you did have a Merry Christmas. I hope it was good for you. In fact, when I'm done right now, I'll take a moment to pray that your Christmas was great, because God doesn't operate in our time. He knew I would pray that prayer before Christmas for you, right? Amen and amen. Well, thank you again for joining me on episode 335 of the Thadcast. And until next time, may you be blessed.